Oh, that.
Good evening, everybody. I would like to go ahead and call our regular meeting of the King William County School Board to order. Ms. Hutchinson, will you please call the roll?
Mr. Farmer. Here. Mr. Wassenberg. Here. Ms. Atkins.
Here.
Ms. Frazier.
Here.
Yeah.
Here. And we do not have a need for closed session. So we will just move right along. Well, I'll wait for you to get a mic. Yeah.
Thank you.
All right.
So all are able, please stand for the pledge of allegiance and a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. All right. And I have a feeling the answer is yes, but Dr. Wagner, do you have any additions, changes, or approval to our agenda?
Thank you. Good evening, Madam Chair, Madam Vice Chair, members of the board, and our guests that are here in the audience and tuning in from home. Thank you very much for your interest and for joining us this evening. I do have two very minor changes to the agenda, Madam Chair. Under superintendent's items, I recommend that we remove item 8.2 from that portion of the agenda, since we already got that included in the consent agenda. So I think we should remove that as an item under superintendent's items. Again, that's 8.2.
Okay.
But also under superintendent's items, I would like to add a new 8.4. And this is very simple, but we'll call that student advisory committee items, and to provide Ms. Hooker, our student representative to the board, with a brief opportunity to share some information about the first month of school and to provide you an opportunity to ask her any questions that you might have.
And you said student advisory committee.
Student advisory committee items. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Okay.
And those are the only proposed changes. Thank you.
Well, thank you. All right. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All right. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say no. Okay. And we will move right along. Give me just 1 second to get these papers back in order. All right. So do we have a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented?
So moved.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Oh gosh, I'm so sorry. Can I have a second?
Second.
All right.
Aye.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say no. All right, and the motion carries. Okay. Now, we have our King William County Public Schools Spotlight.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I believe we're going to turn things over to Ms. Ward from King William High School, who is going to introduce tonight's presentation, some of our special guests and the role that our guests have played in this important recognition. So Ms. Ward, thanks for being here with our Cavalier team, and we're looking forward to this recognition.
Good evening to the board, Dr. Wagner, and all of our guests that have joined us here tonight. Please join me in extending a warm welcome to Dr. John Phillips from VCU Children's Hospital of Richmond. Dr. Phillips serves as the local affiliate medical director for Project Adam, Heart Safe Schools. This is an initiative dedicated to enhancing sudden cardiac arrest response in the school system. We are thrilled to have him with us today as he presents King William High School with the Heart Safe designation banner.
Thank you all for inviting me. I'm very excited. Ms. Lewis deserves, and her team deserves, a lot of credit for the work that she's put into it over the last year. King William High School will be the first school in the area to receive the Project Adam Heart Safe School designation, and one of the first 20 schools within the state to receive designation. Project Adam is a national program that prepares schools for sudden cardiac arrest through education, preparedness, and practice. Unfortunately, in our state, we've had 2 episodes, sadly, within our state of young people passing away on school grounds within the last, actually, 9 months. So we like to take some of those tragedies, move it forward, and do better the next time. And I think that's what's happening here, particularly in your county. I'm really proud of what's happened here for a smaller county to take the steps forward to do it. And hopefully you all will be a beacon and light to others nearby to do the same thing. I hope you never need to use the program for whether it be a child, a visitor, or an adult or faculty. But if, God forbid, that did happen in your schools, you'd be prepared. So without further ado, I'd like to present to Ms. Lewis and your school our banner that I hope you hang proudly as a Project Adam Heart Safe School designee. Each school that receives the designation gets one of these banners, and this allows the community, faculty, staff, everyone to know all the hard work that these folks put in to make their school safe, as well as your communities.
Dr. Wagner, can you and Ms. Ward join us quickly? Thank you.
Get your picture. She said, Dr. Wagner. And the board.
She said Ms. Ward. She didn't say the board.
I want to go.
She said Ms. Ward.
Yeah. He said the board.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Ms. Ward's going
Pretty neat.
Please acknowledge.
I saw that walking around the other day.
And I'd like to take a minute just to acknowledge the team that worked on this.
Second 20 in the state.
In addition to Dr. Phillips,
Top 20 in the state.
our nurse Lewis was an integral part of this. We have Coach Hood, Ms. Pender, Ms. Barrick, and Ms. Newbill with us today. They worked really, really hard to make sure this happened for our students and for our staff.
I'll give y'all one more round of applause. Thank you guys so much. That is a very big achievement, and it's going to be very valuable to have you all at all these games and in our school. So thank you for taking the time to complete that. Okay. Our next section is citizen comments, but seeing none. Is there anybody in our public session that would like to speak that did not have a chance to sign up? No? Okay. All right, so next we will move on to superintendent items with Dr. Wagner.
Some theme music for that. Need some theme music for that.
Thank you, Madam Chair, for keeping the microphone around. The first item under superintendent's items is the first reading of several policy amendments. And again, just to remind our board and the public that these policy reviews are, they occur annually at different times throughout the year. And when the Virginia School Board Association legal team responds to changes in the Virginia code or in other code regulations, then they make amendments to the policy that they invite school boards to adopt. So we have a first reading here, and you've seen the strike through and the red line copies. We already have these policies in our current policy manual, but the slight amendments to the current policies are reflected here. And so I'm happy to answer any questions, but outside of that, would appreciate a motion to accept these as a first read, and then we can bring these back at our next school board meeting for final adoption.
I will make a motion to accept it as our first read.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say no. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The second item is school crisis plans, and we brought some information to you last month about the annual requirement that schools develop a crisis plan. And we've shared that information with the board and wanted to give the board a chance to review some of the school crisis plans. Because of the sensitive nature of these plans, we don't make them public, but we do want to have an opportunity, Ms. Moran is here as well, to answer any questions about any of the school plans that you might have, and we'll do our best to respond to those questions when we have them. And Ms. Moran, anything you'd like to share?
Yes, go ahead.
No, I don't really have anything to share. We've had our first division safety meeting. Actually, yeah, we had our first. The focus right now is, because I had said we were gonna, revisit our plan throughout the year. It's a working document. And the first thing that we are working on is the reunification plan. We've identified the sites with law enforcement and emergency services. But we need to go ahead and really look at nailing down who's responsible for what and what that looks like if it were to happen. Because things can get a little chaotic in the moment. So the more we can have planned out, the better off we'll be. So that's what our focus is right now.
Thank you.
Do you have any questions?
I don't have a question, but I do have a comment. I just want to applaud you and the team. Andrew.
Yes,
Can't think-
Andrew Terry is here with
Thank you. I
us.
couldn't think of Andrew's last name at the moment. For all the hard, intensive work, that looked to me like something I definitely did not want to work on.
The schools have done an amazing job with putting that together. So thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you. And as we have shared, comment in our governance planning retreat last week, anymore, school and campus safety is a full-time job for coordinator, for all the training and requirements that come down from the state and from DCJS, and just managing the safety operations of the school. And so we'll have some more conversation about that as budget season approaches. But thanks for the acknowledgement, Ms. Moran, and to all of our school leaders. Thank you for the sheer amount of time that it takes to assemble those plans, because they are comprehensive.
Absolutely. Thank you. Yes, sir.
The third item is the enrollment report. And because we started school in late August, and it's not necessarily a full month, what we thought we would report for this first meeting is the 10-day count. And I shared some information with you. Remember, we have built a budget on 2,020 students, and the 10-day count was 2061. So we're a certain number of kids over the budgeted amount, which is good news for the school division. We would rather be over enrolled than under enrolled. And today is day 20, and we are even a few students above 2061. So we hope that number holds as we move through the year, because we're going to continue to track this until we get to March 31st. March 31st is our next formal reporting to the Department of Education. And remember that the September 30 number which you'll get at the October meeting, and the March 31st number determine how school divisions are funded.
Thank you.
So it's good news, and I appreciate all of our staff and faculty and administrators for creating environments at school where kids want to be. So we appreciate that, and hopefully the enrollment continues to increase.
Thank you.
Okay, and the next item, we're going to ask Ms. Hooker if she'd like to tell us about the first month of school and some things that she might be seeing and hearing, and then she'll be able to answer any questions if you've got them. So welcome again. We're glad you're here, and we're going to give you the mic.
Good evening, everyone. So after last meeting, I posted a Google form on our Student Hub Canvas page, which all students have access to try to get feedback, issues, concerns, as well as things students thought were going well in the school. So that was about 2 weeks ago, and I had around 20 responses, which isn't too many, but there were a few topics that multiple students put on the form, so I wanted to bring those to you guys. So a couple of the issues and concerns that I received were that students are struggling to adjust to the new dress code and feel that it can be unfair at times. The next one was that the classrooms are very cold. The bathrooms are being abused and mistreated. And then the last one was that the hallways can get very crowded in between classes. So those were the kind of cons that I received. And then there were also a few positives that were repeated. And one of the main ones were that the teachers and staff are great this year. They're very supportive and helpful. I mean, there were so many different comments on that, which is great. And then that the new variety of elective choices is very helpful to the students. So that's the feedback that I received in my Google form. I hope to get more feedback as time goes on. But one of the big things is that SCA will be starting class-wide meetings in October. So each week a class will meet. So each grade level will meet once a month. And the students will be able to provide feedback, issues, things they want to see. And I will be attending all those meetings. And so I hope to be able to talk to the different students and receive their feedback and their issues, and also like try to find like solutions. So not just like what they see going wrong, but also like how can we improve it for them. So that's something that will be starting very soon. And then there will also be a suggestion box where they can put, you know, like anonymous things if they don't want to talk about it with me or with anybody, other student representatives there. The next thing is that the Cavalier Council started their first meeting, so we meet 5 times a year. And a lot of the issues that we will be discussing in that this year were also issues that I found on my feedback form. So that will be helpful. So we went through the list of issues, which included like the bathrooms, the hallways, overcrowding, and things like that. And we narrowed down exactly what we want to work throughout the year to improve. So we started that, which would be super helpful. Another little update was that we had our first pep rally as a school. I thought that would be fun to share with you guys, and it was very successful. We were able to introduce the new staff and the new teachers with some fun facts and a little introduction to get everybody familiar. And it was a great space for the freshmen and the other, just any new students to kind of experience the pep rally at King William. So that's kind of my main update, but I also just wanted to share that if you guys ever had like an issue or a concern that you guys wanted me to get feedback on, you could always reach out and let me know, and I'd be happy to sit on our new forum or like at the class meeting. So this would be a great platform for me to talk with everybody. I can get like specific feedback for you guys for future meetings, as well as just like a general update on whatever meeting you want.
Thank you.
Yes.
Sounds like a lot of great information.
Questions?
I'm excited to see how much we learn and how much we can resolve as a group. So thank you very much.
Yeah, I understand the classrooms are cold.
Yeah.
When I arrived tonight, I said, uh-oh, I forgot my blanket.
Did the students provide any suggestions on the few things that they'd like to see changed?
So they didn't, which I didn't think would happen, but that's what I'm hoping at the class meetings, I'll be able to like hear, and then as well as just like them just saying like the negatives, be like, okay, but like what do you think we can fix? So I think that the conversations that I'll be able to have at the class meetings will help that. So I'm hoping as time goes on, we'll be able to find more solutions. And then I also think that the Cavalier Council will be working with those issues, and I can bring the issues that I receive to the Cavalier Council, and we can work through solutions for that.
Sounds good.
Wonderful. Awesome.
Yeah, I was wondering if you had any report on cell phone usage, how the kids adapting to that, and if you heard mixed use and good use.
So there wasn't anything on my form, but I will say that I really think it's been a positive adjustment. I know last year when we first started, it was kind of mixed feelings, like everybody was having a hard time. But I feel like this year, I haven't even seen a single student get their phone taken. I feel like everyone has adjusted. And I will say that just like in the classroom and talking to my peers, everyone thinks that like, it just kind of provides like, everybody just talks more, so there's more socialization going on, and I think everybody would admit that it was a distraction in the classroom, so I would say it was overall positive. Obviously, there's students that wish they could be on their phone, but I would say as a whole, that what I've heard and like my peers and things that I've seen, I think that it's been a positive adjustment.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Yeah.
Thank you, Ms. Hooker, very much. Helpful information. I think you presented yourself and the issues very clearly and very well, and you're a great spokesman for your classmates. I would encourage you, and maybe you've done this already, but encourage your classmates too, that when concerns do come in, I think your first stop would be the principal's office to make sure that the principal's aware and has a chance to respond to some of those concerns too. But we definitely appreciate you bringing these to the board. It's good to hear, and it's great to hear it in your voice. So thanks very much.
And congrats to Miss Ward on the positive feedback for the staff members. So that's a plus for sure. All right, so next we have instructional items with Brooke Davis and Dr. Bassett.
Good evening, everyone. We are excited to talk to you tonight about one of our newer initiatives with iReady, which is a digital platform for kindergarten through 8th grade students. So for this evening, we just kind of wanted to give you a quick overview of what the program is. If you have students in kindergarten through 8th grade, you may have heard them talk about taking an iReady test or interacting with the program. So we just want to kind of give you a quick overview of what that looks like and kind of go through that process. So I wanted to begin this presentation with that connection back to our strategic plan. So if we look at goal 1, you will see that it's highlighted for us to I'm sorry, and Mr. McBride's organization. Thank you. My print is really small. Thank you, Mr. McBride. Okay, this is a little bit bigger. I can read this. So connecting back to that student learning and growth. And so when we were looking at as a team last year coming together and looking at data resources and monitoring our student progress and how they're going throughout the year, working to give them targeted intervention to meet them where they are as learners, we came across iReady as a platform. And one of the things that stood out to us was that it was a program that aligned to SOL standards for reading and math. It provided a diagnostic for students 3 times a year that progress monitors where they are performing in terms of above grade level, below grade level, or right on grade level. That happens 3 times a year. And then with the program, it also provides us a way to see, okay, if these students aren't on grade level, that means we need to give them targeted intervention. The platform will move to where they are on that level. So it is very self-guided in that way, where it meets the students where they are and gives them materials on the areas that are weak. So if a student is struggling in number sense for mathematics and kindergarten's not a great example, but if they're struggling in first grade with number sense, they're going to give them number sense lessons to help them become closer to being on grade level. So it's going to address those academic gaps that our students may experience. And so that's one of the reasons why we thought this would be a good program to put in place so we can closely monitor our students and then provide targeted lessons and support. So not only does the program provide that for students, but it also provides teachers with ready-made lessons that they can also utilize within their small group instruction. So overview, so that's kind of how we're connected to that strategic plan of student learning and growth. We're going to start with what is iReady, talk through that diagnostic a little bit more, look at our current data. When I was creating this slide, we were about midway through diagnostic data. And so by the end of this week, they should have completed. Our testing window will close, and so we'll have official data for the Division K-8. But this is just kind of gives you a quick snapshot of the kind of data that we would get. And then what do we do with that data? So now that we've taken the time, instructional time for students to participate in this level of testing, how then do we use that to within our classrooms, at our buildings, and then as a division? So it sounds like a lot, but I promise I will cover a lot in just a little bit of time. So again, this is a comprehensive program, so it's going to adapt to where students are as learners. So they begin with that diagnostic. The diagnostic starts for all students. If they've not interacted with the program, it starts one grade level below. And then as they answer questions, it will adapt. That diagnostic sets them on a pathway for learning throughout the platform. So they will interact with the platform at their level. It also provides that progress monitoring. So we want our teachers to be looking at that data frequently so they can see how students are progressing towards specific skills, but also use the lesson plans that are embedded within the program to help drive their instruction within the classroom. So we're hoping that by students interacting with the platform, 15 minutes 4 times a week for reading and math, and then having that small group instruction, we're going to begin to address some of these gaps and areas of weakness and help our students get closer to being on grade level or above grade level. And then it is interactive and engaging for the students. You know, the program is designed to hold a student's attention. So one of the newer things this year is at the middle school level, they've redesigned the platform so that it's a little bit more engaging for our middle schoolers, because the feedback they had gotten is it's really geared a little bit more towards elementary. But this year they've really made that adjustment and taken that feedback. So if you have a middle schooler, I'd be curious to see what they say about that. Student benefits, again, it's that customized learning to meet them where they are. It's going to reinforce key math and reading skills. And then there's opportunities to set some goals within the program. So, you know, we know that how important it is as learners to set those goals, or even as individuals, what's my goal and how am I going to get there? And so that this program lends itself to that and letting them say, oh, I can meet this goal. I've attained this goal. What will be my next goal? So it really is an interactive and motivating program for our students. So I mentioned the diagnostic. And so with the diagnostic, again, that's happening 3 times a year. And diagnostic, again, that's happening 3 times a year. And the reason why we do that is so that we can see how have our students grown from fall to winter and then winter to spring. So the test flow with the math diagnostic, they're going to be tested in 4 different domains, kindergarten through 8th grade. They're going to be tested in algebra, number and operations, geometry, and measurement. So those are the 4 areas that they will be tested in math. And again, remember when they start that diagnostic for the fall, all of our students started 1 grade level below because they had not taken a diagnostic yet within the program. Now that they have taken that program, or taken that diagnostic in the winter time, it'll start them with where they ended in the fall to see how they have progressed. And then again, when they take it in the spring, when you come back next year, as if I'm a first grader and I'm a second grader, it'll pick up where they have left off. Here's just some samples of what the types of questions that you may see on the diagnostic. I try to do a spread of what you may see at a lower level. If you notice for kindergarten students or a lower grade student, it says click on the shape that has 4 sides. And there's that little icon there. So if you're not quite yet a reader, they can put on their headphones and click and listen to that question. So we know that the reading that question isn't going to hinder them from performing on the assessment. So this is just some quick sample of questions that some of the students may see. And then with the reading diagnostic, it's the same format. They start 1 grade level below, and then it monitors them as they go throughout taking the diagnostic. The reading is a little bit more complex than math. And it is really designed for those students who are learning to read and then reading to learn as you get through the upper grades. So if you look at the lower grades, you're going to see where they will go through phonics and phonological awareness before they actually get to the vocabulary and comprehension. Whereas if you progress to the upper grades, we're going to start with, okay, what do we know with vocabulary and comprehension, and weave in some of those phonics if they're finding that students aren't able to answer some of these questions, then it tells us, okay, we need to go back and look at phonics and phonological awareness and work to build in some skills and activities within the platform for the students to interact with. What I will say, what is that eye openers, we ran some pilots last year with the program, and at Hamilton Homes Middle School, we did it with a reading class, a 6th grade reading class, and the teachers were in awe about the data that they got on their students, and they were surprised to have students who were in 6th grade who were at a phonics level of a 2nd grader. So they were able to see, wow, that's how far back we need to go to meet these students where they are to help them become the better readers that we know they can be. So that's the kind of valuable data that we're able to gain from participating in the platform. And so then I just gave some sample reading questions. So the first one is an example of how they may interact with the vocabulary. Another one at the bottom is a picture of the glass, and it's what's the first sound in this picture. So they would have to click and listen to the sound to get to the G sound. So that's just 2 examples of a upper grade and then a lower grade. And then here's some just overall results that we have so far. What you will see is those green slashes. That means you're mid or above grade level. So when we took, at the time when this data was pulled, we had assessed 795 students out of our 1,389 students. So 80 students were performing at that mid or below above grade level in reading. K8. And then we have 117 students early on grade level and 252 students 1 grade level below. I'm going to pause for a second because our teachers, when we look at that yellow data, you know, we see green and we're like, green is good, everything's going right. We see yellow, we're like, there's a warning sign, and red is like, oh no, right? Really, when we take this fall, in the fall, we kind of expect a majority of our students to fall within that yellow area because they've not yet learned all the standards. So we might see that happen throughout. So it's not, we're still working towards that. So we're not in that warning yet, but we're getting close to. Now the red is more of that warning where we're saying, okay, we're 2 grade levels below, and then those slashes 3 or more grade levels below. And so what we would say is, okay, this is 201 students that we're looking at 3 or more grade levels below. We probably need to see who these students are and look to provide targeted interventions for them in the school setting. So that's just a kind of quick example of a quick data overview. And I'm going to pause right there and see if you guys have any questions about that reading data that's on this board.
All of the interventions are done in the classroom?
Some interventions can take place in the classroom, but absolutely some interventions students would be pulled out for intervention. It just really depends on the student and the service that they may receive. Okay, this breaks it down by school. So in the next slide, you can kind of see, and again, just keep in mind that when this data was pulled, not all students had participated. So Cool Spring Primary, I know kindergarten, it wasn't quite ready to take the diagnostic the 2nd week of school. But they are certainly doing a great job of doing that now. So we're excited to see the final results of our data come through this Friday. And then this next slide kind of shows where we're performing so far with our math data as well. And then again, broken down by school. So next steps. So how will we use this data? What does that mean? When you look at what I'd like to think about this is how does it look like in the classroom? What does it look like at a building level? And then what does it look like? And then what does it look like at a district level? So I'm going to start with the classroom level because we were just talking about interventions in the classroom. What does that look like? So teachers, this is what a quick screenshot of a teacher view of what of an assessment of students completed. This is a first grade example here. This is the student. So this is the teacher side for them to see how our students were working with phonological awareness. That's what that PA stands for at the top. Phonics, high frequency words, HFW, vocabulary, comprehension, literature, which is fictional text, and then informational. So that's kind of the breakdown at the top, and you can see how their students are performing within those things. Now, if I go and click the next, and let's say I click on comprehension, it tells me here some suggestions on how to teach comprehension to these groups of students. So just some good teaching tips of best practices on how to approach teaching comprehension to these students. And then what you notice on the right-hand side in blue, those are all linked PDFs to actionable lessons that they can use to teach with students. So if you notice a skill, like if you look at decoding words with short A, vowel A, I can pull that in and use that with a small group. If I notice the data trend is more of my classroom needs this instruction, then I'm going to pause and say, maybe I need to go back and reteach this skill, spend more time on this skill, and I have a lesson that I can refer back to. And this is an example of what those lessons look like. So it kind of tells you step by step to introduce the sound, model it, and then an activity to go with it. But that's just a quick sneak peek of what that would look like. At the building level, this is really great for us at the building level for our administrators to be able to access these types of data and reports for their students. So we talked about here's how I can use it within the classroom. And then at the building level, we want to use our school support, our intervention teams to look at this data and see which of our students are performing 2 or 3 grade levels below. How can we support these students? What services can we offer to them that are maybe take place outside of the classroom to help address these gaps? It also helps them in addressing areas as we prepare for our school support plans. They're able to monitor progress towards their overall school-wide goals. So if I have a math goal to raise my pass rates from 58% to 68%, well, what is some evidence of that? I'm making progress towards that goal. I can pull in my ready report to help show that we're making progress towards math rate and increasing our pass rates for math. At the division level, it gives us an idea of how our students are performing K-8. So we're able to see what trends or areas that our students we might see within the data. So for example, maybe we see that vocabulary is a continued red flag for our students. Then what can we do as a division level team to address vocabulary for our students K-8? How can we brainstorm with our building administrators, give them more support, look at resources to support these trends that we may see within the data? So again, I think that it will help us be proactive in number one, supporting our students, but then also strategically looking at how can we provide the right resources and utilize our staff to support these students and getting them to where they need to be. What questions do you all have for me?
So correct me if I'm wrong, does this take the place of PALS testing for our elementary?
Great question. It does not.
Okay.
So we will have different data points for students. So this is one data point for reading and math. And then the PALS testing is now vowels.
Vowels with a V.
With a V. And right now it is pre-K through 3rd grade who will be tested. And that test is really geared to give teachers indicators of how students are performing in some of those key literacy areas, phonological awareness, phonics, comprehension. And that is a state required test.
You said pre-K to what?
The third grade.
Third grade.
Next year, it will go all the way to fifth grade.
Okay.
And students will participate in that testing fall and spring, and some students mid-year. Again, that is another data point to see how our students are performing and to address areas of concern for reading.
And are parents provided with any of the results from their students already?
Yes,
Okay.
so that is something that we are absolutely talking about and working through. I know Ms. Wilkin and I have had some conversations about, because there is so much testing that's happening at the beginning of the year to see where students are performing. We want to provide parents with VALS information that's through the state, but also provide them that diagnostic information. So right now it's just mainly about that timing. All of that information going to parents. We don't want to overload and confuse folks with VALS and ready. So we want to be strategic about that. But if as parent, you are absolutely able, if you want to see those results sooner than later, absolutely can reach out and ask to see child's results. But we will communicate them. Right now, we've got to figure out what would be the best way in a timely manner to get that information to parents.
Okay, thank you.
Any questions? It's a lot to absorb, isn't it?
Yes.
When we see these slides like this that Ms. Davis prepared, you can understand why teachers would say, wow, there's a lot of new stuff at the beginning of the year that we have to make sense of. And, there are some new initiatives this year, but I can assure our faculty, and I know that our school leaders feel the same way, that without just-in-time data like this, you're really just swinging, at pitches that come at you. The fact that iReady is a consistent platform K through 8 means that it's aligned, and it's also nationally normed. So, right now and for the past several years, the only real systematic data, the student performance data outside of PALS, which was K2, that schools have been able to utilize that can give them a picture of where their kids are, have been the SOLs at the end of the year. But the end of the year is too late, right? And the SOLs are a minimum competency assessment. So, we talked about this last week when we were, together at our planning session, excuse me. And so if one of the things that we'll do this year is we'll compare our end of year results to our nationally normed results and find out if there's alignment there. And that's one of the challenges that the Department of Education and Governor Youngkin had spoken about a few years ago, that, with respect to the NAEP assessment. Dr. Bassett has presented about the NAEP assessment before. That's the National Assessment of Educational Progress, that random samples of students take in grades 4, 8, and 12. And when your school division or your school is selected, you have to participate. You just have to. And we participated before, and we may have to participate again this year. But Dr. Bassett will be able to provide an update maybe at our meeting next month. But nonetheless, one of the talking points that the governor presented to the public and the Department of Education presented was that, and this is the sort of discrepancy with SOLs, is that while many school divisions in Virginia, if you look at just their SOL scores and they have, let's say, a 75% pass rate, that suggests that children are doing well. But the random samples of children that take the NAEP assessment in grades 4 and 8, it might show that only 30% are doing well. So you've got this, because they're measuring skills, but they're comparing those results against a different metric. And so I sort of liken this to For those of us that have had children, and when we go to the pediatrician, we see our child's growth mapped out on a growth chart. And that's norm, millions and millions of children. So that lets us know how our children are developing across lots and lots and lots of children that are just like ours. But you can imagine the variability if we only measured the growth of our children based on the other kids in the room. Is that we're really not going to get necessarily an accurate picture. And so the SOLs give us a picture of where students are performing, but not necessarily relative to anything else. And so with data like these, our schools will begin to be able to look at and to triangulate things like end of year results, in-year results, classroom grades, attendance, all of those sorts of things that we'll be able to build into a dashboard and help us make reasonable and informed decisions about what to do next, but that also point us in a direction that we may need to go that has budgetary implications. Like, wow, we've got lots and lots of kids struggling in reading. We need more reading support, which might mean more reading specialists or something of that nature. So, without data like these, and we really haven't, and I've shared this with you before, we haven't had really a valid data collection process. Without data, you're just guessing. And so I want to extend our appreciation to our leaders and to all of our teachers that are working to incorporate all of these new expectations. We know that it can be a lot and it can feel overwhelming, but we believe that once we have these data, we'll be able to make more informed decisions that hopefully will improve our practice and improve outcomes for kids. So you saw on that screen, there's some green and there's some yellow, but there's some red that sticks out too. And we want to make sure that, my goal is to eliminate the red, and that's going to take a lot, but that's what Ms. Davis was talking about. If you've got a third of our kids that are behind grade level compared to their peers nationwide, that suggests that we might need to do something a little bit differently. So I'll pause there, and Ms. Davis, thanks for putting that together. And again, thanks to all of our teachers and staff for bearing with us as we incorporate and implement some of these new tools and new processes. But we think it's going to be for the greater good.
Sure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so next we have graduation options.
And Madam Chair, as Ms. Ward is coming up to the podium, one of the things that we talked about at commencement last May, and if you were, I'm sure our community remembers, we had to make some last minute decisions about whether to hold the commencement ceremony outside or inside. And I think we had a great ceremony inside, and Mr. Stone and his team did a phenomenal job of helping transform the gym into a place that was celebratory. But when Ms. Ward came aboard, one of the things that we had talked about was having some more clearly defined plans earlier in the year, like a plan A and a plan B and a plan C.
Yeah.
And so she has worked with the team at the high school and has some information to share with you about the process that they're utilizing to look at commencement and some options that are available, and then how they're going to make a decision or a recommendation for all of us to consider for this May. So Ms. Ward, thanks for being here, and we're looking forward to the information.
Sure, good evening. So as you said, when I first came aboard, I did hear about the rain debacle that occurred last year. And we know that with outdoor ceremonies, sometimes that happens. So I feel like it's important that we look at the different options for graduation, and we're making the best decision for our seniors to make sure that they have a special and memorable event. So I have a study team. It consists of 7 staff members that we have looked at a couple different options for graduation. And I'm going to talk to you tonight about some of those options and also about the process that we're going to take. So the options that we first considered, obviously we are still looking at the high school as an option. That is definitely not off the plate. If it does occur at the high school, it would occur on May 17th at 10 a.m. in the morning. Ideally on the football field. But of course, we do have to plan for a backup, which would be the gymnasium. Option 2, there is the new Henrico Sports Complex located over where Virginia Center Public Mall used to be. This facility is about a year old. It's beautiful. There's lots of graduations that are occurring in that facility, but that is the second option that we're looking at. If graduation is at the Henrico Sports Complex, the date available for that is May 21st at 7 p.m. The third option we considered, but unfortunately is not available, is Meadow Event Park. They were just completely booked for 3 solid weeks. So we had to take that off the table. So looking at option 1, Henrico Sports Complex, this is just an image of one of the graduations that occurred there last year, just to give you an idea of what it could look like. The facility, it's 2 areas. You have the main area that holds the audience, the spectators, the graduates from the ceremony. And then there's a separate area behind that blue wall you see off to the right-hand side, where the graduates would get ready, get lined up, make sure they're good to go. We would have that facility for the entire day. They are, and you'll see the breakdown. We look at the cost. So the Henrico Sports Complex, there's some pros and cons here. Some of the pros, it's easier setup and breakdown. So they are responsible for setting up all of the tables and chairs. That is included in the cost. We do have a guarantee of 8 tickets, with the possibility of for a few more, just depending on RMC and security. Parking, they have 900 parking spaces. So each senior would receive approximately 3 to 4 parking passes. The parking and the facility are very handicap accessible. It's very flat, so it's very easy to get to. The roads that lead to the facility, there's many different directions you can come from. So the crowding is kind of nice. It's a little bit more spread out. Like I said, there's a lot included in the cost, such as security. RMC is included. Police presence in Henrico County would be there. Sound is included. Setup and take down, the chairs and the tables are all included. With Henrico County Sports Complex, you would not have the impact from weather. We wouldn't have to make a last minute change if rain or storms were to appear. The seats are very nice, pretty comfortable. And like I said, handicap access, and we're looking at about 25 to 40 minutes away from the high school. They said they could get 1,500 people into the facility within 20 minutes, even through security. So that's a very nice additive that they can get people in very quick and very safe. In addition, I meant to add that they do have great Wi-Fi, so the options for streaming the graduation ceremony is a possibility. Okay. Some cons of the Henrico Sports Complex. Obviously, this facility does cost a little bit more. We'll do the breakdown in a little bit. The location, it's not the high school, it's not that tradition. So that is a con. It is a similar setup to what you would see on the football field or in the auditorium, so there's not a huge difference. And the date for graduation is determined by the availability. As you saw, the date is, if we went with Henrico Sports Complex, is May 21st. This is the evening before the last day of school. Okay, so maybe not ideal, but also not super late, because I know we have a lot of sports and things that do occur in the evenings. This would not conflict with sports. I already checked with our athletic director. That would be protected. Okay. So going on to the high school, which this is something that many of you are familiar with. Some pros, this is tradition. Many King William graduates have graduated from the school itself. So there is a big benefit of having that tradition. It is a centrally located space. We do have full ownership of that space. Whereas in Henrico, we only have that venue for the day. At the high school, we can set up for 2 weeks if we need to. So we have a little bit more time to play with that. We set the date and time because it is our space. So those are all pros. Some cons, looking at parking. I understand parking is kind of limited. I've seen that with some sporting events. We do have a plan for that. So I'll get into that when we get to cost. And of course, weather would force a shift to the gym ceremony. The tickets could be limited if rain occurs. So looking at the capacity of the gym, if we were to still give every graduate 8 tickets, including the special guest and any other people that work at the event, we would be 50 people away from max capacity. The gym only holds 1,500 people. So that can get very, very tight. We would have to consider the tickets that each senior received if we did have to move it in. And we hate to have to do that. Setup and breakdown does involve staff hours because we are responsible for that. So our maintenance crew would be working very hard along with our staff and our teachers to make that happen. And we are concerned about how long it might take guests to enter because we want to make sure that they do have a secure environment with RMG visits. So looking at the cost, the budget for this, so there is some budget that would be coming from the school central office budget, as well as some of the budget would come from the senior class dues. So as you can see, here's a breakdown of the cost, the difference in the facility cost. The stage we would be sharing with another locality, so that we were able to get the stage at half price. A stage typically is $7,000, but because we are able to share it with the district that's holding their graduation night before, they were able to cut it in half for us. Programs would be the same cost, flowers would be the same cost. Sound, as you can see, it's included in one but not the other. Here where you see bus drivers, if it is at the high school, we would like to consider possibly allowing spectators to park perhaps at the elementary or middle school, and then run a shuttle with our buses to help offset the parking situation. Ms. Longus is looking at some liability issues of that, but that is what the cost would be. The cost of the police is based off of last year's cost, as well as the RMC cost is based off of the quote that we received this year when we were looking at the game coverage. So you can see there's about a $6,000 difference in costs, which is concerning, but we want to make sure that we are making the best choice for our students. So the process. Like I said, I have a similar graduation committee. We have met to put together the pros and cons and put this presentation together for you. I met with the senior class officers today. They will be going into government classes on Friday and Monday, speaking to the senior class and getting feedback from our seniors. We feel it's important because it is their day that we get their voice heard. So they will be presenting the same presentation on Friday and Monday, and then there will be a Google form that seniors are invited to fill out to share their thoughts. And then the final decision date, the Henrico Sports Complex, I have a 30-day window from the time that I got the proposal to sign a contract. Otherwise, that date is given away to somebody else, and there are people waiting. So we have to have a final decision and a contract signed by August 4th. So this decision must be made prior to that. October 4th. Oh, so sorry. October 4th. Thank you. So what kind of questions do you have for me?
What do the senior dues include?
Senior dues?
Yeah.
So I do know that there's a couple things that already come out of the senior dues, and we know that graduation these fees will not impact what's already in the plan for that. I talked to Ms. Kraut. They do have like a senior picnic kind of day, a fun day, and we made sure that those fees will not touch that. We might have to utilize some of the parking dues to see if we can do something like that. But I'll be talking to Ms. Longus to make sure that we all do all this the right way.
Okay. If my math is correct, it would be if parents contributed $71 roughly for graduation fees, then it would cover the cost of graduating somewhere else.
I have not done that math.
Yeah, I know that some high schools though do that because they use the Coliseum or something like that. So there is that additional cost, but.
And one thing that I'm considering, so in order to go over 8 tickets for the Henrico Sports Complex, we would need to consider adding more RMC and or police security. So charging maybe $5 a ticket for the additional tickets. So every graduate would get that standard 8. But then anything over that, we would charge $5 a ticket to help offset the cost of additional security that we would need to get all the spectators in safely.
Yeah, that's not a bad idea.
So how many tickets were they allowed when it was on the football field? Was it?
I believe it was 8 to 10.
Yeah.
And then when it was moved inside the gym, they were allowed 8, correct?
Last year's graduation was allowed 8. And of course, the graduating class changes by a few numbers every year. So based on 173 seniors, 8 tickets apiece, plus about 100 to 115 special guests, it gets you pretty close to that 1,500.
Yeah, I think ultimately the class should be able to decide that.
Yeah.
Yes, I think it's very important to get
That would, yeah, that needs, yeah, they need to sit down and figure that out. Because it is, I mean, I graduated on the football field there, so I do understand that part of it, but if it's not that much difference in the amount of people, does it really make sense to go all the way over there instead of just using the gym?
I think it's just in case it rains that we have that.
But if you're still only gonna do 8 tickets at the gym, you're still getting the same amount of people in there.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Let us know what they say.
I will.
Yeah, I'll be curious to hear what the kids have to say, or the students have to say.
Yeah, I'm curious myself, so, and obviously we want to do what's best for the students and we want to try to honor their wishes, so, we're going to do everything we can to make whatever happen for our senior class.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right. Next, we have school nutrition items. She is not here though. Are you doing it?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Ms. Harris couldn't be with us tonight. She has given me free rein to go through all of her informational reports. And I'm not going to do that. And
Okay.
any board members have any questions, feel free to reach out to Ms. Harris and she'd be more than happy to answer them.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. We are right on track. All right, so next we have the personnel report and supplemental report, since we do not need another closed session. Do we have a approval? Well, we didn't have a personnel report.
No, we didn't.
You're right, we're just gonna keep on going.
Yep.
Yeah, no closed sessions throw me off, I apologize.
Mhm.
So next we have matters from the board. Does anybody have anything that they would like to share? Okay, seeing none, we will move right along. So next we have public announcements. So just some of the items that we have coming up. September 19th is going to be early release for students. Is that staff too? No, okay. So just students. On September 25th, there is an SEAC meeting at the Hamilton Homes Middle School Cafetorium. October 2nd is a possible work session for the board. October 14th is a student and staff holiday. October 15th is a regular scheduled school board meeting. And October 24th is our budget town hall. Does anybody have anything that they would like to add?
Ma'am.
Okay. All right. And then can I please get a motion to adjourn the meeting?
So moved. I can do this.
All right, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say no.